What is up, everyone? JAYBONE back here to talk some Walking Dead. Season 7 is back in action, and we're going to be talking about some episode number 9. Getting back into the swing of things, getting the channel going again. Joining me tonight, my old buddy Styles, CM Styles. How you doing today, dude?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Uh, wow, what can I say about this episode? Just wow, I can't wait till we start scratching the surface on what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, and just to backtrack just a bit, just talking about the first half of the season, man, there was so much negativity coming from fans, because they've never dealt with our main characters going through what they've gone through. Well, they have, but it's never been to like this extreme, like psychologically affecting everyone. We just haven't seen bad guys like this before. I mean, these guys are straight up like almost like six like nice guy serial killers. It's ridiculous. So I'm hoping that with this second half of the season and morale turning around, Rick's got a new outlook on what he wants to accomplish and try to get everyone behind him. And that's going to be the hardest part going through this season, is getting everyone behind him, because everyone is so beaten down and so not that they want to be used to this way of life, but if they figure if they just play it safe and do as they're told, they'll be fine. But we're starting to see towards the end of this first half of the season, it ain't gonna happen like that. And look
Oh,
what happened at the
absolutely.
hilltop.
Yeah. Just like you said, we haven't seen anything like this before. Not to this, extreme. We had guys like the governor. We had the cannibals at Terminus, and all kinds of other, people along the way. But nothing touches Negan and the Saviors. I've been waiting for this for years, since reading in the comics, and it's just. Like you said, the first half people stopped watching because of how Rick was getting treated. Now it's the rise up for Alexandria Safe Zone, the Kingdom, and the Hilltop, and now it's their chance to shine. And oh man, I just can't wait to see how they're going to build up this whole entire scenario.
Yeah, we're getting used to watching it again, and I usually don't put a whole lot of thought into just sitting down and watching it. But let me tell you, man, by the end of this episode, my heart was racing. I mean, legit, like just like holy crap! I like had to like sit back and like collect myself for a second, because like that one scene, and I'm going to kind of just bounce all over the place as far as bullet points from the episode. But that scene where Rick is driving the car, and across the median from him is Michonne, and they've got that steel cable running between the cars, and they're just taking out hundreds and hundreds of walkers. And that was like the most insane thing I think we've almost seen so far through all the seasons, as far as taking out a herd, or at least part of a herd, or whatever. Dude, what are your thoughts on that scene right there?
Insane. I will use that word over and over in this episode. You know, they were using what's called detonation cord. I've seen that stuff used in the military, and it's very effective. And the way they used it to trip every walker that was, on that freeway. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with that freeway. That was the one they used in season 1 and 2. So we're going back to some familiar locations, but it's just like, wow, they use both sides of the highway or freeway. Um, Hundreds of walkers, and then escaping via truck, and just to see the grand finale of all those walkers getting blown up. That was just badass.
Are you talking about that was the same part of the freeway that they used for like season
1 and 2, when they left the city and it was like a graveyard of cars.
Oh, and then they lost, and then
They lost Sophia. Yeah, that's the same location.
oh, I didn't know that. Did they because I didn't watch The Talking Dead. Is that one thing that they revealed in
They did
that?
not talk about it on there. I was just very familiar with the location.
It could very well have been. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to, as far as like that bend in the freeway, I know that looked a little familiar. That certainly could have been. I'm sure they're not like going too far out of their realm as far as shooting. I'm sure they have certain locations all set up in private or whatever. But yeah, um, yeah, that whole scene with the walkers was just so that really got my heart racing big time, and I was like, oh, here we go. This is why I love this, because this is the stuff that just gets me going, keeps me on the edge of my seat. So it's my favorite freaking show besides watching wrestling. Um, let's see. And now to backtrack to the beginning of the episode, um, and they start out with. Oh, it actually starts out with Gabriel, doesn't it?
Yeah, it starts with Gabriel. He's doing his watch, and during his watch, he abandons his post, gathers every single supply that's in the pantry area in the garage, and disappears with it all.
Yeah, he loads up a car and takes off like partway through the night under he's got like the moonlight above him, so he can see real good at night there. Must be like a full moon. And just the fact that he did this, the one other strange thing, and I had to rewind this. Did you notice that when he was pulling away from the gate and driving away, another head popped up next to him?
I kind of saw that, and I'm not sure if that's the same guy that we saw, several months ago during the cliffhanger.
Oh, as far as who was watching him from afar?
Yeah.
Oh, that could be. That could be. Or someone stowed away in the car to like to follow. It's a couple different options. Could have been a stowaway. Could have been someone working with him. Because I'd be a little shocked if Gabriel, not that he doesn't have it in him, but if he did all this on his own and then left on his own without the help of anyone, that would shock me. I don't think he's got that in him. Do you think he
No,
does?
no, I don't think Gabriel has anything whatsoever in him right now except a lot of insanity. And of course, Rick pinpointed, and like you said, we're going to bounce around here. Rick said that this isn't something Gabriel would do, and if he did do it, there's got to be a reason why. And of course, we saw the Saviors make their appearance late, near the end of the show, and they weren't there for supplies; they were there for something else. But
Yeah,
yeah,
they were after Daryl, which is gonna really tense things up throughout this first half of this second half of the next few episodes of the second half of season 7.
yes,
And they told Daryl to stay at. Now I'm trying to
the
think of all these
Kingdom.
different places. Yes, thank you, the Kingdom. And Ezekiel told them, saying we'll allow him to stay here because the Saviors don't come here, they won't know he's here. And Daryl's even like, yeah, how long do you think that's going to last? You know, and we saw what happened at Alexandria right away. They tore that place up from top to bottom looking for him. Destroyed. I mean, they just showed it really quickly. They showed them going through the houses, trashing it, which they probably did that to like the whole community there at Alexandria. Probably left it in shambles. And that's just more crap that they have to deal with to clean up that's going to slow them down. But they've got a goal now. You know, Rick's Rick's getting his cojones back, and with the help of Michonne, you know, she's really like a beacon to him right now. She's really keeping him focused, I think.
Yeah, and of course, Michonne, she's playing the role of Andrea now. Now, for those who read this far into the comics, Rick and Michonne never had this kind of relationship, but Rick and Andrea did. Everything Michonne's trying to do is exactly what Andrea is doing right now, currently in the comic, and that's why I kind of wish that they would have stayed on, on cue with all the characters. But it's fine, I'm not hating against it.
Yeah.
They have their problems here and there, but she motivates him to work things out. And of course, it's not just him, or not him. It's not just Michonne. It was also Maggie. These are the people that are trying to get Rick to get that fire under his ass and prepare to fight. And with Michonne being a high spot in his life, besides Carl and I can't remember, Judith. Yeah, there we go. He wouldn't know what to do besides protect his kids. You got a whole group, you got a community of people that that you got to provide for and you got to protect. No matter what the outcome. And I just think her doing what she's doing now is furthering Rick into dangerous territory, so that way he can get ready to fight Negan and the Saviors.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And so yeah, they went to the hilltop to talk to Gregory, and Gregory was just a big waste of time. He is such a sheep at this point. He's like I said earlier, he's one of those guys that they just don't want to do anything to upset. What do you say? How do you say that? Upset the apple cart or whatever. He just like, okay, we just keep on doing what we're doing and we'll be fine. Don't shake things up. Don't change anything. And that's exactly what he's doing. And so that's really frustrating. But even though coming out of that, then just walking away from him, they already had people behind him. There are people that do want to fight, that do want to stand up for freedom. So that's good to see. And we haven't seen Ezekiel in a while either. So, all of them getting introduced to Ezekiel was a very, very cool part of the episode. And we saw Shiva again. What'd you think of all that, dude?
Seeing Rick and the crew kind of scared of the tiger, that kind of threw the little comedic moment in there. Introducing Rick to Ezekiel and the crew, I think that was a great part of the story right there. That right there was just pure storytelling, period. Of course, like you said, that the hilltop, the kingdom, and Alexandria, they all served to the saviors, and now it's like they're done serving. It's time to fight, and just trying to get Ezekiel and his men ready for war. It's something Ezekiel doesn't want to do just yet, but sooner or later down the road, during this march to war, Ezekiel will give into it and eventually tell Rick, all right, it's time. But the hardest part of all this is that these guys got no weapons, very limited weapons, I should say, at least from the kingdom side. The hilltop has nothing except spears, and Rick and his crew have been completely stripped of all their armaments. And of course, they just lost Eugene back in episode 8 when he was discovered to be the bullet maker. So
Yeah.
it's going to be really weird seeing how he's going to pan out, in this whole entire story, because I don't remember him being kidnapped in the comic, as far as I can remember. But it, all this stuff that's going on right now with Rick and the crew, very intense moments. Hopefully, like I said, Ezekiel will come to his senses after meeting, Rick and the Alexandria crew to prepare for this entire all-out war.
Well, yeah, and Rick told Daryl, just keep working on him, keep talking to him, just what he said, stare him down or whatever, that's going to be really interesting to see what all happens between Carol, Morgan, and King Ezekiel and the surrounding characters in the kingdom there, to see, who pushes who to try to fight, and then we went from that to them driving, and then we get to the point in the episode where we were talking about at first with that the herd and the cable and the explosives and all that. That was just so intense. Because at first in the distance it's like, oh, there's a couple of them, and then they keep showing down the road, and there's a few more. And then they show it again a little bit later. Oh, holy crap,
It's like, hey, it's time to go.
Yeah, definitely time to go. But then they set off the one explosion, so that's going to be interesting to see if that backlashes on Rick or anyone for that matter, because obviously, and maybe it won't, because obviously the walkers are going to be drawn to that. Obviously, people from the Saviors are going to go check that out, because they've got people watching out the surrounding areas. It's going to be really interesting to see, how that all turns out, besides the Saviors just looking for Daryl,
Yeah, and like you said there, once the Sanctuary, as they call it in comics, realized, oh, well, there's been an explosion, I'm sure they got checkpoints and everything that tell you exactly where every little rock in the road, as the episode's called, is located. Rock in the road, i.e., IEDs or tripwire.
Yeah.
Once they realize this isn't where it was set at, they're going to know that their stuff was tampered with, because those cars blew up at a different location compared to where they were parked. I think they're also going to know that they moved some of the vehicles, even though they moved them back, they might not have been placed in the correct order. These are things that we got to look out for, as viewers, and realize, did these guys leave any, breadcrumbs behind for the Saviors to realize, well, not all of our explosions were used because it didn't do the mass amount of damage it's supposed to, because they took an RPG rocket and then a bunch of dynamite. That right there was enough to flatline an entire road. And all we saw was just, we saw a smaller explosion compared to what it could have done. So they're going to know that their dynamite was taken, and they're going to ask Rick and the crew, where is it at? Because they didn't bring it back to Alexandria with them.
Yeah, they parked the truck that they left and came back in outside of Alexandria, because that was the first thing that I can't remember the guy's name. We almost never see him. The guy from Alexandria.
Tobin?
Yeah, I think
that's the guy, kind of.
Yeah, I think that's who that is. Because he asked Rick as soon as they got back, "Where's the truck?" And Rick said they left it outside somewhere safer. So I'm guessing they kept whatever they got in the truck outside of Alexandria,
which is a smart thing to do right now, because Negan and his men can easily go inside there and realize, oh, this is our stuff to begin with. Now that you have it and you're causing more trouble, someone's going to die.
Yeah. Well, and especially considering they showed up minutes after they got back, you know, which was like, oh crap, busted. But, they just acted like, oh yeah, we're just all standing around, what else happened around there? Oh, another thing they're going to notice if they go back to that site where the explosion is, they'll notice that whole thing that they took the battery out of basically the detonator.
Yeah.
That the detonator was messed with. So that right there, they're going to be looking for that stuff too.
I mean, like I said, there's a lot of breadcrumbs left behind. Negan, on the other hand, even though his presence wasn't shown on TV, his voice was, giving that quick eulogy to Fat Joseph, who lost his life to Daryl. And then he found out without him, Skinny Joey is now known as Joey again. And then, of course, minutes later, they find out Daryl has escaped. And that was a pretty good, pretty good recovery to, oh shit, what's going on here? Time to go back to Alexandria to see if that animal wandered off back to his home.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what Negan's going to do once he realizes, once Rick and them figure out about, well, they already know about Daryl escaping, but I just want to see Negan's full reaction, and hopefully we see him next week or this Sunday on The Walking Dead. But yeah, that pretty much covers the whole Negan side of things. That also covers the roadblock out in the middle of the highway. And I know there's one thing I know you would love to talk about, and it was at the end of the episode.
Yeah, only other thing I was going to ask you, because I noticed this, but I couldn't tell, like, distance-wise what was exactly happening. When they were trying to get all the dynamite and explosives out of that highway scene, the walkers are coming through. Which way were the walkers coming? Were they headed towards the sanctuary?
It looked like they were heading away from it the way I was looking at it.
That's the one thing that confused me as far as where exactly they were, like,
because it looked like they were coming from the direction of there, and that kind of confused me as well. And I'm glad you said that, because I watched it a few times today, on my DVR, and it's just like, I don't know if they thought things through about, where all this stuff, the placement of the cameras and the locations, because from what I remember, they were going downhill. And if you continue that, they were still going downhill when they were driving.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and watch that again.
That could have been a huge error in the entire thing, a major flaw.
Yeah, they're usually pretty good about that. They've had a few over the last several seasons, but but yeah, just one little thing there I was kind of curious about. So if anybody watched that and wants to fill in the blank for that one, by all means, put it in the comments below. Let's see, but yeah, let's get towards the end of the episode. So they figure out, after Negan's crew leaves after tearing Alexandria up, that Gabriel had left with all the supplies and food and weapons or whatever, which was basically looked like pickaxes. It wasn't like guns or anything. It was all just hand stuff, So they start going after him. They're trying to track him, and it's because he wrote in the notebook boat. So Rick's like, oh, so they go back to the boat that they got all the stuff from. That boat was in the middle of the lake, and then they're following a path away from that someplace else. What almost it almost looked like they were back around the factories around where they were like fighting the governor that one time. But I don't, and it could have been a similar area. I don't know, but it just kind of looked like that in the background.
Yeah, there's a lot of familiarization in this, this episode. A lot of stuff that may have traced back to, modified areas, expansions to the buildings. It kind of looked like a factory behind them as well.
Yeah. And so they're trying to find Gabriel, and there's, like 6 or 7 of them in this group, and they're walking really quietly. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, hundreds of these people that were kind of dressed like Jesus was when he first snuck up on them a couple seasons ago, and all stealth like. Hundreds of men and women, excuse me, with weapons surround Rick's group from Alexandria. And it's like, whoa, where are all these people coming from? Like, all of a sudden, boom, they're just completely surrounded. And the best part of it is the look on Rick's face at the end of that segment. He gets this big old smile on his face. He's like, I almost like he's thinking like, hey, I like these odds.
Yeah. I remember there being a leak on this one, and they weren't referred as a group yet, but a lot of people referred them as the Garbage Pail Kids. You ever seen a group of misfit survivors? This is what you're looking at right here. And of course, weapons wise, some of them had guns and some had hand-picked weapons. Like, they crafted their own weapons to survive this apocalypse. So this group could be a benefit, or it could be another savior type group where they end up snatching their supplies, just like, any other group. They could be just like the wolves for all we know. And
yeah, it could be.
We'll find out all this coming Sunday, because there's going to be continuance. Because if you saw the sneak preview on at the end of Walking Dead, or as a matter of fact on Talking Dead, they showed Rick talking to what appeared to be the leader of the group.
That one I have not watched yet. So
yeah, it's like, why are you out here kind of thing, and what these guys are trying to do, is basically a bow down type of thing, and they're already bowing down to Negan. And Rick points out that they're already owned by the saviors and all this other stuff. It is pretty intense, for just a minute and a half of talk that we saw. But more questions to be answered this week when we see the new episode.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. And I'm sure the smile on Rick's face at the end of that segment is, I'm sure his wheels are already turning like, hey, here's our army. Here's our crew. If we can befriend these people and get them to befriend us, then, oh my God, here's what you've been trying to accomplish throughout this entire episode, because you only got a handful of people from the hilltop. And at this point, King Ezekiel's kingdom is a big question mark. Well, basically he says no, but there's still people that are trying to change Ezekiel's mind. And we'll see that in the next few episodes as well. So who this new group is, yeah, that's going to be really interesting to see exactly what happens here, because, yeah, this can go really good for Rick's group or bad. So, yeah, we'll have to see. Is there anything else that I'm missing? I feel like I'm missing something.
I'm sure there's a lot that we're missing here, but we pretty much hit all the major key points for this episode. Why Gabriel take all the stuff? What's Negan's agenda now that Rick is, now that Daryl has escaped the prison? Who's going to pay for the death of Fat Joseph? What else can I say? I think we may have finally realized who owned that boat, and pretty much, what's Rick going to do about either recruiting these people or fighting against them as well. So, so many questions that right there that just need to be answered this coming Sunday. I just hope they, put everything together within the next 3-4 episodes before Rick considers this all-out war with Negan and his men.
Yeah, and they're talking about the obviously something huge is going to come up, with the beginning of season 8, because that's going to be episode 1. I think they said it's going to be episode 100. So
Something like that.
that's going to be a milestone for the series as well. Oh, one other thing, when you were talking there, I thought of one other little thing just to touch on, to get your opinion on, is that we did see Carol in this episode.
We did.
And that was good to see her and how she reacted to, and I'm sorry, what's that kid's name? Did you catch that?
Oh, I can never remember his name.
He's from the kingdom, though. He's one of He's one of Ezekiel's soldiers in training. We can call it. The fact that he went out there and he met. I mean, he knew Carol from before, but the fact that Carol doesn't want to be near any of this anymore. She just wants to, be out on her own and not have anything to do with any of this. And that's understandable. Carol's gone through
surviving.
She's gone through so much.
Yeah, she's getting the benefits from the kingdom, food-wise and water-wise, but she doesn't want to be messed with. Like you said, she wants to be left alone. If she goes out and does her own thing, let her. Do not stop her. But she is dangerous alone, and if you don't watch out where you are around her, like she said, she can hear you from a mile away. If she can hear you from that far away, you're in trouble.
Oh, yeah. Just the fact that I still consider her one of Rick's group as far as experience-wise. Just look at what she did in Alexandria before it became what it is now. The fact that, going through the mental thing of almost like another personality, but still bearing all that toughness down deep inside. She's gone through such a roller coaster of what we've seen her portray herself as throughout the seasons. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see if they can get her to join in the fight, or if she just is like, no, just leave me alone,
Yeah,
because it almost sounds like Morgan is kind of leaning towards a fight.
Yeah, and on top of that, I don't know if we want to call it a spoiler alert, but they said there's going to be one good person on The Walking Dead that's going to betray a group. We're not sure who it is, what it is. I saw this the other day on YouTube, and it also surfaced on a couple Walking Dead fan pages. Expect a turn from somebody. So I'm curious who it's going to be. Who's going to, get pushed to the edge? Who's going to turn to the other side? And who's going to betray whatever group? However, why is just going to be the question. But yeah, I can't spoil it because I do not know. But
that could very well have been Gabriel. What if he just packed up a bunch of shit and drove to the sanctuary and turned himself in, here's my offering. I want to join you guys. Please take all this stuff as me, a good a thing of good faith to join your group. Do you think he would do something like that?
I wouldn't put it past him, but Gabriel serves a huge purpose after All Out War, so I think Gabriel did everything for all the best intentions, and his intentions, I should say. It's there's going to be swerves, there's going to be turns, there's going to be everything. It's just we're going to have a lot of shock moments this second half of season 7. So like I say, buckle up and hold on.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said at the start, hopefully, we'll get some fans back to the flock because, obviously this is a turn for the good as far as what we're seeing, Rick go through. Yeah, there's going to be this is all still an uphill challenge, but to see him in a different frame of mind, back in fight mode and surviving mode, I think will bring some fans back. Like my wife's was the funniest last season. She was, oh my God, I've never seen her so upset during this series in being so frustrated as a Walking Dead fan. What did she say at episode 8? She's like, man, if Negan doesn't die at the end of this season, and I already told her, I'm like, I don't think he's gonna die at the end of this season. I think there's gonna be a war, but I don't think he's gonna die because I've heard that he actually lasts for a good long time throughout the comics.
Yeah, I just read comic 163 last week, and I gotta say is get ready for something worse than what we're about to see next season.
Oh,
way
man.
worse. And we talked about the Whispers, in the first half because that's who we thought that person at the boat dock area was one of the Whispers, aka Beta. He's like a 6.5, 7 foot tall monster, that serves for Alpha, and we'll talk about that later down the road. But everyone put speculation thinking that this right here could be an early signs of the Whispers. But no, we just found out that person that was wearing them funky boots going towards the boat or going towards Alexandria is more than likely one of the Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah, that could be. That could very well be, yeah. Yeah, especially if it was around that same area where Rick's group just got surrounded again. Yeah.
Yeah, that right there, I want to consider that question number 1 answered.
Yeah. And that's a very interesting name for that group. If that's just fans calling them that, we'll have to.
Yeah, that's what the fans are calling them because there's no actual name. Because there was a group like that in the comics, but I don't remember what they were called. It's been so long since I read the comic books. Back in between, comics 100 up to about 125. Between there is what started with All Out War.
Oh, that's a few years ago then. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anything else you guys say about this episode before we cut out of here?
Great episode. I want to watch it again tomorrow, and again after that because it's an addiction. It's one of the greatest cult classics that you can watch in AMC. So get ready for next Sunday or this coming Sunday, and every other Sunday behind that until season 7's wrapped up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this second half of this season is certainly going to have a different feel to it, and it's good. It's all good. I mean, it's scary, but it's still good. So yeah, thank you, Styles, for joining me and kind of a reboot of this channel. I've been gone for a little over a month. And just getting things going again. I've been back on my other wrestling channel for a little bit, but as far as this channel goes, Walking Dead stuff and other music things coming up soon. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching. We'll see you early next week for a review of the next episode, and hopefully Styles will be up for joining me. We'll see what happens.
I'm always game for The Walking Dead.
Awesome. Until then, take care, and we'll see you real soon. All right, folks.
All right.